The Galactic Council had declared the Vraxith a Class 5 extinction threat. These predators, each standing 7 feet tall with obsidian exoskeletons and razor-sharp mandibles, hunted in coordinated packs of 50. They had decimated 12 colonies across 4-star systems. No species had successfully defended against them, let alone survived a close encounter. Harper Chun, 73 years old and recently widowed, hadn't received that particular memo. James Rodriguez, the young xenobiologist assigned to the human colony on Kepler for 42b, certainly had. He stood at the edge of the settlement's perimeter, his scanner blinking red warnings as it detected 50 Vraxith biosignatures approaching from the eastern forest. His hands trembled as he activated the emergency protocols. "Mrs. Chun," he shouted, running toward the greenhouse where the elderly woman spent most of her days. "We need to evacuate. There's a Vraxith pack, 50 of them, heading straight for us." Harper looked up from her tomato plants, dirt smudged on her weathered cheek. "Oh, those poor darlings must be hungry again. James, dear, would you help me with the feeding bins? My back isn't what it used to be." James stared at her, convinced the stress had fractured her mind. "Mrs. Chun, these aren't. They're apex predators. They've killed thousands. They're babies, James." Harper wiped her hands on her apron and walked toward the storage shed with the calm determination of someone who had raised 5 children and wasn't about to be told what to do by creatures with more teeth than sense. Scared, orphaned babies who needed someone to care for them. The story had begun 3 months earlier, when Harper had been collecting wild herbs beyond the settlement's safe zone. Against all regulations, naturally. She'd stumbled upon a Vraxith breeding ground, recently attacked by a rival species. Hundreds of eggs lay shattered, the adult Vraxith slaughtered. But 50 eggs remained intact, trembling with life. Any sane person would have run. Any reasonable person would have called the authorities. Harper Chun had never claimed to be either. She'd commandeered a cargo hauler, loaded all 50 eggs, and brought them to her greenhouse. When the colony administrator discovered what she'd done, he nearly had an aneurysm. The council demanded immediate termination of the eggs. Harper had smiled sweetly, locked her greenhouse door, and told them all to mind their own damn business. The eggs hatched 3 days later. Now, as James watched in absolute horror, the forest erupted with movement. 50 Vraxith emerged in perfect formation, their chitinous bodies gleaming in Kepler 442b's dual sunset. Their mandibles clicked in synchronized patterns, a hunting communication that had preceded the massacre of entire populations. Harper walked toward them, carrying a massive bin of protein supplements mixed with synthesized nutrients she'd formulated herself. "Hello, my darlings. Did you have a good hunt? I hope you didn't terrorize the wildlife too much." The lead Vraxith, the largest of the pack, which James's scanner identified as the Alpha, approached Harper with movements that should have been threatening. Instead, it lowered its massive head, and Harper scratched behind its sensory ridge exactly where James later learned the creatures enjoyed it most. The entire pack broke formation, swarming around Harper like puppies greeting their mother after a long day. They chirped, clicked, and hummed in a symphony of affection that no xenobiologist had ever recorded. "Mrs. Chun," James whispered, his scanner forgotten in his hand. "What have you done?" Harper laughed, distributing food portions with practiced efficiency while several Vraxith nuzzled against her like affectionate cats. If cats weighed 300 pounds and could bite through reinforced steel. "I raised them properly, that's what. Fed them on schedule, taught them manners, made sure they understood boundaries. Just like any youngsters." Over the following weeks, James documented everything. The Vraxith, it turned out, were not mindlessly violent. Previous encounters had involved adolescent packs, orphaned and desperate, attacking out of starvation and fear. Harper's pack, her darlings, had been raised with full bellies, consistent care, and something no Vraxith had apparently ever experienced: love. They protected the colony with fierce devotion. When actual threats approached, predators, severe weather, even a group of space pirates, the pack responded with coordinated precision. But they never harmed colonists, learned to avoid livestock, and even helped with heavy construction, their strength perfectly suited for moving equipment. The Galactic Council sent observers. They sent scientists. They sent military analysts. All of them arrived expecting carnage and left having been gently headbutt by a Vraxith seeking scratches behind their sensory ridges. How did you know they could be domesticated? A counselor asked Harper during the official investigation. Harper fixed him with a look she perfected on defiant teenagers decades ago. Domesticated? Young man, I didn't domesticate anything. I simply refused to believe that any creature was born evil. They needed a mother, and I needed something to care for after my Henry passed. We needed each other. James, who had overcome his initial terror and become Harper's assistant in xenomaternal care, a field he'd essentially invented, added his own observations. The Vraxith social structure requires a matriarchal authority figure. Without one, they develop anxiety-driven aggression. Mrs. Chun provided what their biology demanded: structure, nourishment, and acceptance. The council declared Harper Chen's colony a protected research site. Her methods became required study for xenobiologists across the galaxy. Humanity's reputation shifted from adequate colonizers to the species that weaponized grandmotherly love. Harper herself remained unchanged by the attention. She still tended her tomatoes, still complained about her back, and still treated 50 apex predators like they were her grandchildren. Because, in every way that mattered, they were done on quiet evenings. James would find her in the greenhouse, surrounded by Vraxith who had carefully curled their dangerous bodies into the least threatening positions possible, all competing for space closest to the woman who had chosen compassion when the galaxy had counseled fear. "You changed everything, Mrs. Chun," James said one such evening. Harper smiled, stroking the alpha's head. "Nonsense. I just remembered that every creature, no matter how scary they look, is someone's baby. And every baby deserves a chance to be loved." The Vraxith hummed their agreement, and the galaxy learned what humanity had always known: that the fiercest weapon in the universe wasn't technology or strength, but the unshakable determination of a grandmother who refused to give up on her children.